Very, very true. Let's proceed. Read the following statements and select the correct ones. Now, which is the correct one you are supposed to understand? First one, in that three sentences, you are supposed to select the correct one. Okay, they have asked which is the correct. As I was saying in the very beginning, whichever is increasing in mass is also increasing in number of individual stones or number of size. If it increases, are those twin characteristics? If a person is growing by height, it is usually that person is growing by weight also. If a child is 6 months old and the child has turned to 5 years old, of course he has grown in height, of course the child has attained a certain height. If the child has attained certain height, will that child has attained weight also? Of course, the child when he was 6 months old, the weight was completely different. The weight which is a child holding at 5 years old is of course different. So they are twin characteristics of growth, of course they are. Second point, metabolic reactions can be demonstrated outside the body in isolated cell-free systems. Now this question when I was saying, this is very tricky students. You're supposed to understand what does this mean. Now metabolic reactions, when we were discussing about summary, we were speaking that metabolic reactions is a characteristic of living organism. Of course, all the metabolic reactions, different type of biochemical reactions are working inside the body, and that gives the characteristics that we are living. But they have told that it can be demonstrated outside the body in isolated cell-free systems. Now what is cell-free systems? Inside our body also students, there is something called as glycolysis. Example we are speaking about right now. Glycolysis is happening inside our body. Of course, what is glycolysis? Breakdown of foods. It is happening inside our body. It should happen in our body. Then only whatever the glucose which is taken down, it will be used in a proper format. ATP, energy, what we are doing that. Okay, now whatever this glucose is happening or this glycolysis is happening in our body, one of the very important biochemical or metabolic reactions can be done outside the body as well. Of course, if you may ask how, there are certain systems in a laboratory system where these type of reactions can be made. They can be made or they can be produced, because whatever the products what you get is also a part of metabolic reactions. You are getting those products outside is only because it is made in a laboratory. Now, what is cell-free system? Cell-free system means something which doesn't have cells into it, students. We have cells, we have tissues, all the things are running in this parts of our body, whatever metabolic reactions. But cell-free system is a laboratory system, isolated, they keep it contamination free, and in that they do, that is also called as in vitro type of work, in vitro type of stimulations, where things are done outside the body. Best example we can take is IVF, right? It can be done in test tubes, it can be done in plates, petri plates, okay, very stimulated environment, but done in the laboratory. Now whatever now this point also we should clear that whatever is happening inside our body is called as living reaction, is a living reaction, because it is happening inside our body, we are living, it is called as living reactions. It is living or biochemical reactions which is happening in our body. But whatever the reactions which are happening outside the body, those reactions, those metabolic reactions are also called as living reactions, students. Now you may question, ma'am, it is happening outside the body, then why living reactions? Why living reactions is because that reaction is also happening with the help of biomolecules, molecules which are present. Those are of course synthesized outside for a certain purpose, but those biomolecules, that biochemical reaction, whatever happens in our body is very similar which is happening inside and outside. That reaction, regardless it is how happening outside, it's a living reaction, holding all the biochemical processes, holding all the biochemical molecules. If it is that way, those reactions are also called as living reactions. Just only thing difference is it is happening, one is happening inside the body, one is happening outside the body. Those are also called as living reactions because of this particular reason. So of course it is correct. Third point, we have again come up with the same thing. Response to stimuli is of course a defining property. Now 1, 2, 3, all three are correct. The answer will be D, of course. Regardless if something 1 or 2 would have been wrong, the options would have changed. But right now all three are correct. So all three matters. Answer is D. A living organism is unexceptionally differentiated from a non-living structure on the basis of, how do you differentiate? First and main thing, that is responsiveness, students. Of course, this bottle, if I touch, will of course not respond to anything. Will it respond? Will it do? No. I will respond, right? Now you may ask, now what about reproduction? What about growth and movement? What about interaction with environment? See, this is a metal. Okay, this is a metal. This is a metal. If I keep this metal in water, or iron is kept in water, what does happen to iron? It rusts. It undergo rusting. Rusting is interaction with environment or no? Just because it is rusting, is it a living organism? Growth and movement. Now, whatever growth or movement is also seen in non-living organisms, students. Okay, it is also seen in non-living organisms. Sorry, I've taken some question. It is also seen in non-living organisms. How you may ask growth and reproduction, growth and movement. Forget about movement. Growth usually happens in non-living. How stone is there, if you see over the face of time, or whatever soil is there, the soil erosion takes place, the stone whatever is there over the face of time undergoes weathering. The same stone undergo the collection of growth also. If there is too many things which is put on top of it, or there is a lot of pressure which is made, those ways also growth can happen to non-living organisms, and those of course will move if we move them. Of course there is movement. Reproduction, as I said, is not a defining property, students. So in this entire fourth thing, reproduction is not defining. Growth can happen outside the body, also movement also can take place, interaction also, environment take place. The responsiveness, you will respond to stimuli. This responsiveness is one of the key features which differentiates from a living to non-living organism. I suppose it is clear. We'll proceed with the next question. In plants, growth occurs. In plants, how does growth occur, and whereas in animals, how does it occur, students? They have asked this question. Okay. Now, in plants, growth occurs how? Now, for example, if the plant is there, it is in your backyard, and if it is not cut down, students, will it stop growing? No, the plant will grow. Whatever the lifespan of the plant is, of course, it will grow to that particular age. It will grow, it will create new branches, it will create new leaves until you cut it down. But I'm also living for 100 years. Just imagine a plant also is living for 100 years, or a particular tree, and when I'm living for 100 years, that 100-year-old plant will of course shed the leaves, regenerate new leaves, new branches. It will grow, expand its root. Okay, the stem will grow over the phase of years. But what about animals? What about me? I am right now on a particular age. Now my growth is there. Will I develop two more arms or two more legs or different type of structures just because I've turned 40, just because I've turned 60? Will I develop something more? Will my height grow? Forget about anything else. Will my height grow after certain years? No. Animals, when it comes to, there is a certain type of limitation when it comes to growth, students. Yes, that is why the question describes here. In plants, growth occurs continuously, whereas in animals, it occurs only up to a certain age. After that, they stop. They age, students. We age. I turn 25, 35, 45, 65, 75. I age over. I don't grow. I don't have different type of structures just creating out of me just because I'm aging. I'm only turning in age. I'm aging over the face. You can see my skin also will get a little rough, smooth, like rough and loose over the face of time just because I'm aging. That is only up to a certain age. Now, whatever I have grown, my height or whatever structure is there, only up to a certain age. After that, I will not grow anything else. That is why growth occurs in plants if it is continuously, and in animals up to a certain age only. The rest of options are wrong, of course. You can see multicellular organisms increases mass by cell division. Yes, in plants, they grow throughout the life as metameric stem areas where cell division occurs are continuously. These type of metameric areas have life creating opportunities, so they keep on growing. But we don't have anything. We only grow up to a certain age, and after that, whatever cells are there, whatever organs are there, they worn out. They worn out and they lose the cells. That is called aging. Yes. Perfect. Let's move.